Hey all, Tom Moran here from Tom's Big Spiders. This episode we're going to be doing something we haven't done in quite a while, which is rehouse an adult Poecilotheria species. I love pokies. I have quite a few of them. My goal is to eventually have all of the species, or I've kept all of the species at one point or another. I just haven't had a lot to do with them lately, hence the lack of videos. However, I have a few that need to be rehoused, so we're going to be doing those in the coming weeks. Now this video is going to feature my Poecilotheria subfusca lowland or Ivory ornamental. These are old world arboreal species from Sri Lanka. It's one of the darker species of Poecilotheria species, which makes it kind of stand out from some of the other ones I've kept. And I've heard from some it's one of the smaller species of Poecilotheria, at least that's what I've seen in my experience, although there seems to be some debate out there of whether or not they are larger species or smaller species. So we'll talk about that a bit during the video. Now, as always, I love pokies, and unfortunately a lot of folks don't take the chance in keeping them because they do have medically significant venom. If you got bit by one of these guys, you're not going to die, but you're going to be hurting for quite a bit. And I think unfortunately we've done such a good job in the hobby of convincing people that they should probably stay away from these, that some stay away from them forever, which is a shame because they really are beautiful, amazing, regal, shy spiders. One of the things I've noticed since keeping Poecilotheria species is that the demonization is pretty much unwarranted. They tend to be less high-strung than a lot of other old worlds. Sure, they have the venom, they have the speed, but they'd much rather hide if confronted or use their camouflage to flatten out and try to disappear. So I think if you give them the correct setup and treat them with the respect they deserve, you should have little problem with these guys as long as you have some experience keeping faster tarantulas under your belt. So enough of me talking. Let's take a look at my piece of subfusca lowland and her new digs. All right, so it's been a while since we've done one of these. This is going to feature one of my Poecilotheria species, Poecilotheria subfusca. Lowland, in this case, there's lowland and highland. We'll be doing the highland later on this week. Also known as Poecilotheria bara. It's I believe a junior synonym of subfusca, but it's considered to be right now that the subfusca highland lowland are considered to be the same species. So despite that, hobbyists tend to keep them apart just in case there's a revision done and they're different species, but sadly I believe that a lot of cross mixing of the two has already happened already. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to get her from this one here. Now this was the juvenile enclosure. I love these things for juveniles. This is the V-Top Mart, I mean, that really just rolls off the tongue. Plastic food storage containers. They are about 5 quarts or 5 liters, so about a gallon and a quarter or so. And they measure roughly about 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches by about 9 inches tall. I love these for smaller juvenile arboreals or juvenile fossorial species. They're very easy to drill into to make the holes, and they're stackable. They just really nice for something for a juvenile that's not going to be in it for all that long. Before that, we had this one. I believe I got them in July of 2018 as slings before the Sri Lankan poke ban came into play, and at that time they were about 1 inch long or so, 3/4 of an inch, and I had them, as you'll see here, in 32-ounce deli cups. Smaller pokies I have kept in larger dram vials. Just know that most of them grow pretty quickly and they'll outgrow those rather fast, which is why a lot of people choose to start them in those 32-ounce ones. It's one less rehouse to do. These guys have grown rather slowly overall compared to my other pokies, and I'll talk a bit about the male and female growth rate in a moment. So what we're going to do here, the game plan is I'm going to take the water dish out, I'm going to take this cork bark out, and we're hoping to get her to go right up into here, and then we'll move the other container in, put her in. Now, just a heads up, the reason why we have the paper towels around here is when tarantulas get out, they tend to like to circle things. They'll go around the corners, and what will happen is if a tarantula gets out and spooked, it'll go under here and hopefully stop underneath one of the paper towels, which will cause it to calm down a bit, and then you can calmly remove the paper towel and cup it. So let's get this one out of here. Hopefully we get some good images of her. So I was going to get the water dish out. I should have taken the water dish out before. Let's go ahead. Now, there she is all scrunched up. I don't know if she's coming in. Hold on. Gorgeous spiders. Darker, a lot darker than some of the other pokies, and a lot smaller than some of the other pokies. So what we're going to do is go ahead and drop this in, the magical Simply Limeade. Still no sponsorship from them. Very disappointed. No, no, there we go. All right. So what we're going to do is get this one out of the way, put some cardboard under here so hopefully Billy can get a shot of her because she really is stunning. And they like to go up. Always use that to your advantage. She's going to squish all up. I'm going to go ahead and do the tilt out so you can see down here. Now, my two subfusca females have both been very, very shy. They have continued to quasi-burrow, I'm making up my own words, a lot longer than my other Poecilotheria species have. This one, until very recently, actually used the cork bark tube, which is why I've given a cork bark tube over here. We'll show that off in a minute. But after she molted the last time, she's been kind of hiding underneath it. She's dug underneath. The other one, as you'll see when I do the rehouse in a little while, won't be on this video, but that one also did some burrowing and she's underneath the cork bark. So what we're going to do here is move this one over, and I will explain what we have her in a moment as soon as we get her into the new enclosure. Now what I'm hoping to do here, so we have a cork bark round. I did shove some moss in there. What I'm hoping will happen is we'll be able to direct her right down in there. She'll go into the tube. Unfortunately, it means not a lot of good video of her, but oh well. Actually, we may put her on the ground because I don't think I'm going to be able to get the thing off. Hold on. There we go. And what we want her to do is go right out behind there. Boop. There we go. Well. Is she going up or down? I can't see her from over here.
She's just sitting there like on the inside of the cork bark.
Good. Don't do that at home. All right, so let's go ahead and just drop this on top while we talk a little bit about what we have here. All right, so this is one of the primal cage enclosures. I picked a bunch of these up a couple summers ago, and this one actually had another spider in it that ended up being a mature male. It passed away, so we cleaned the whole thing out, set it up for it. But these guys go about 8 by 8 by 12 inches tall, I think, acrylic. They're like, there's a million companies out there making these things right now. So they're very similar to a lot of those. So pick whichever ones you like. I've even picked some off of Amazon. I've heard people say the Amazon ones are crappy, but a couple of the ones I got off of Amazon are just as nice. But I don't think I would be sending people his direction right now, but I just went on the website to see if I could get some more enclosures, and it seems to be shut down for the time being, or he seems to be taking a break, so I'll have to double check on that. But anyway, any of the acrylic enclosures would work for these guys, and well, there she is in there. One thing to know with the Poecilotheria species is although they are arboreal, a lot of them and a lot of mine will continue to settle kind of, if you give them a cork bark round, they'll settle inside the cork bark round. They'll do some webbing around here, around this area, and they'll web all up. So and wild, they can be found in like knot holes and crooks of trees and stuff. They'll make their nest, but in captivity, obviously we can't make something that goes, 8, 10 feet up. So what they will do is kind of settle down in here. And then usually what happens if I come out early in the morning or at night, they'll be perched right out in the open. So besides the enclosure, the inside of it, I have BioDude substrate, any mixture of dirt, peat moss, although I've been trying to steer away from the peat moss, cocoa fiber, anything like that will work fine. I give her several inches because I want the bottom to stay nice and moist, the top to dry out a bit. We have some sphagnum moss, green sphagnum moss in here, and I've been putting leaf litter in all my enclosures because I like the naturalistic look of it, and I did glue some plastic plants to this to kind of give it just a little more, I don't know, pop. But there we go, she's in the new enclosure. Now, normally Poecilotheria species, I put them in larger enclosures. However, both of these females, I've had them now for what, about 3-4 years? I have to double check, 19, so 3 years. And she is right now about 5 inches or so. I've heard that the females of this species get around 5 inches to 6 inches. My males of both species matured out very, very small. One of them was just around 3.5 inches, the smallest male Poeci I had I'd ever had, and that guy matured out quite a while ago. So they are a smaller species, so I do believe that for the time being at least, I mean, if she puts on a lot more size, yes, I'd probably put her in something larger, but I believe that this will be a nice size enclosure for her for quite a bit. As far as temperatures, temperatures during the summertime here hit about 78 to 84 degrees, depending on the day. So in the wintertime, it can get, usually in here, it's about 72 to 74 degrees. But I will say, at my old house, it would sometimes hit 60s. And even in here, it sometimes hits 60s, and they do just fine. So no fretting if your temperatures aren't in the 80s. I've heard folks say they have to be kept 80 degrees. I have not found that. However, if you keep them warmer, you'll get faster growth. And then eating-wise, these guys have always been great eaters. As little slings, they'll take down prey items. I was feeding them red runner roaches and small crickets. Once they hit the juvenile stage, they pretty much take large crickets or roaches, no problem. Not large B. dubia. B. dubia, I would say, for adults, but lateralis roaches and regular crickets. So there we go. Poecilotheria subfusca lowland in her new enclosure. Hopefully we'll be able to get some pictures of her out and about. I'm sure she'll probably start constructing her den behind here, but I'm hoping that sometime in the next couple days before I post this video, I can get some images of her out. Oh, that's right. Anything else? Oh, and as Billy just brought up, how's that? No. And Billy just brought up the fact that we will be putting a water dish in here. I never put the water dishes in until after the fact because they're just an obstacle when we're getting the spiders in, but you'll get a nice big water dish in here. I always keep water dishes for my pokies, and I have seen them drink. So there we go. Now we've got everything. I think we got everything. Poecilotheria subfusca lowland, awesome spiders. Smaller pokies, so for people that are intimidated by the larger ones, like the 8-inch, I've got a P. regalis, it's about 8 inches. I've got a rufulata, it's about 9 inches. Supposedly rufulatas can get to be 10 inches. Same thing with ornatas. If you want to try a pokie out and want a smaller one, these guys are a great place to start. So as promised, here we are a couple weeks later, and I just happened to come up to the tarantula room first thing in the morning. The sun was out, the room was brightly lit, but nonetheless, there she was sitting right out in the open. I was so excited. Grabbed the camera and immediately tried to get some footage. So again, not the best footage because this is going through the side of the acrylic enclosure, but you can see her, and I love those darker colors. For years, I've had folks tell me that the subfusca are their favorite Poecilotheria species, and although I love all pokies, I kind of like the black and white ones. However, now that I've seen these guys in all their glory and those darker colorations, I'm just as enamored with them. I mean, look at that, just a gorgeous spider. She did settle inside the cork bark round, built up some dirt curtains behind it, so she has a nice little den there. And once she's settled in, she's been out and about much more often. I usually catch her out every morning now, and she'll hang out for a little bit, so I could get even more footage if I wanted to, which I think is because she is feeling settled and a little more confident and comfortable. But just a gorgeous spider. Look at her there against the background. It was great because I came up the other day and she blends in so well with the cork bark that she was sprawled out on that cork bark, and I didn't even notice her at first. She blended in so well with the camouflage. Just an amazing spider. Glad I could get some decent footage for you all. All right, so unfortunately, this is one of the species of Poecilotheria species in the United States, which includes all the Sri Lankan Poecilotheria species that you cannot legally sell over state lines. You can gift them to somebody, for example, as a breeding loan, but I can't order these from some of the dealers online that are different states because that's illegal, although some folks still try to sell them because there's money to be had, and when there's money to be had, people will do sleazy things. That's pretty much all there is to it. So unfortunately, if you're going to try to find these guys, you will want to find somebody in your own state that has them. They can be legally gifted over borders, and they can be sent as breeding loans, but they don't want them to be part of commerce. So we can talk about whether or not this makes sense or whether it really helps to protect these guys, but it's kind of a moot point. That's the way it is right now. Beautiful spiders, though, ones I hope to always have in my collection. Luckily, I have a couple dealers in Connecticut, so although they may cost me a pretty penny, if I ever want to replace these guys down the road or get some more, I should be able to get some, but it can be difficult to find them. So that will do it for this one. As always, if you liked it enough to subscribe, very much appreciate. Click the little circle up in there. If you want to check out some more videos, I'll put them over in here. If you take the time to comment, I'll take the time to respond. Just know it can take me a couple days to get back to you. As always, guys, stay safe. We'll catch you all next time.